speed, that momentum they're picking up from the lower bracket win they've found over T1. And for Talon, it's looking shaky. It's still game 1 out of best of 5 that they've lost. We're only on game 2, but yeah, as you mentioned, Mike, that game 1 is very important.
Well, give it to me, John. Predictions. We've got 4 predictions here to make. I'd love you to make some guaranteed predictions here. We all need some battle pass points. Give it to us, John. What are they?
Roshan kills, probably, this could be a long game, maybe 4. I can see it dragging up to the 4th Rosh. Player with the highest net worth by 25. I definitely see this more on Natsumi this time around. Total number of smoke gang kills by 10. That one's a bit hard to call. Sometimes smoke gangs, they don't generally come out in the first 10 minutes, so probably 0. And teams with the most kills at game end, honestly, probably Polaris. Like, Talon, their lineup, once it tapers off pretty hard. So Polaris just covered all their bases, and this draft just looks excellent once more coming out from AU.
It certainly does. We'll see if they can pull it off, though. It's one thing to have a good draft. It's another thing to actually be able to kind of run this draft and make it work. And Talon, after that game 1, they didn't look happy. They need to reset. They have a much better draft, I would argue, going into this game, but it does feel like there's going to be a hell of a lot of pressure once again on Makoto. He's going to set a tempo this game, and Savage on this Slark. He's been really good recently on this Slark, but he's very, very important. He is carrying the team by himself. There's no one else that's going to be able to back him up later on in this game, as Fisher is there. Q, he won't be able to block in the Ember. And in fact, Hyde and Savage, they will try to rush, but Xavius has already found the other bounty route. And it looks like Polaris, they're going to get away with the 3-for-1 trade on the bounty. So a bit of an advantage to get this game 1 started. And speaking of starting the game, let's start with the mid lane. Lelouch on his signature Ember, going to be against Makoto on his signature Pango. How is this lane meant to go?
It's a little bit more back and forth. There's more play here for Makoto in comparison to laning up against Alina, but Lelouch should still be able to have a bit of a better time. I mean, Ember harassment with Sleight of Fist is just obnoxious and not something Makoto can always dodge out as well.
Top
and
lane.
we're already seeing a lot of that. Well,
Force, he's already gone. Q, able to set up along with Hyde. They ran a tri-lane to get started, and it does work out. It doesn't seem like Polaris were expecting the tri-lane start whatsoever.
This is a good change-up for Talon. They understand that Viper's early lanes or early laning levels are pretty bad. You just show up, get the chain stunts off, and just punish with Savage. You can't just build up a lot with the Essence Shift. I mean, you've gotten off lane Undying for KP anyway, so it doesn't need that much help.
Here we go again. This time Q is not going to be able to break the gap to get the Fisher off. Xavius is the one to take the damage. Though no Q is still around here. They should also know there is an observer ward around that area that they are still under. But Q is not backing off. It seems like they are going to commit to the tri-lane.
Yeah, just kind of be aggressive and force, secure Savage a strong start. Again, you've got an Undying offlane. He doesn't care that much. He does enjoy solo EXP anyway. And to be fair, KP is doing a good job of just running down Natsumi. Like, once the decay is up, the PL can't really trade all too well. So you're having a pretty decent way of just changing your conditions here on Talons. And for Polaris, I don't think this is the end of the world. Like, Natsumi's still going to be able to farm up pretty damn well here. Once the levels are up, I don't expect KP to really have massive kill threat there with the protection of AU. And once KP runs out of mana, this lane's pretty dead for him anyway.
Absolutely. You see AU come in eventually on the Omni-9 and start trading a bit of harass with KP, but like you said, KP doesn't really need the help. He's fine. Question is, can Talon keep the aggression up with this tri-lane? Like, that's one thing, right? When you run a tri-lane, you're going to have both supports kind of struggling for XP throughout the game. You are going to need to give them time to catch up, but it can be a little bit awkward. In fact, hold that thought, because Disruption is there to set up once again. Force is being chased by Q. Fisher not out yet, and the TPs are incoming. Instead, they'll try on to Xavius, but AU's going to TP in, and now the turnaround. A 3-man rebound. Xavius, he might drop, but he's setting up a kill onto Q. Still running. Does find a courier. We'll leave it be. Purification out. Xavius breaking some ankles, but it's not going to be enough. He will drop. AU now on the chase is Savage. He's not done yet. Pounces there onto the Omni Knight. A lot of Essence shift stacks being taken. Hyde's there with the Disruption. This should be another, and AU will drop, but now Hyde. He will give another kill back the way of Force. And the one big problem I see about those two kills for Talon is Hyde picked up both of them.
Yeah, it's not ideal. You definitely want that on Savage. You want him to get this investment from the trial lane for himself. But you're still happy enough to find these kills. Polaris are finding openings. They understand with just a little bit of save out from AU, the lane just changes massively, and they'll actually send AU walking back up top. With the saves on hand from this Omni Knight, what the angles AU's finding, his spacing in these fights, it's gonna be tough for Talon to keep committing that aggression. And the one-on-one lane for Natsumi is a little bit more manageable because you're not feeding as much decay out onto KP. He's not able to trade as well because he's not getting as much strength with every spell use. So it's a good way to just repair. Just go for your own trial and be aggressive yourselves.
All the runes are being contested. Hyde able to take one. Lelouch already got the other one anyway, though, so he's more than happy with that. Makoto will not be able to fill up his own bottle. Unfortunate for him. So it is a 2-3 so far. Talon, they are one game ahead in this game too. Still a very close kind of game here between these two teams. And I suppose the one main concern I have, looking back at the mid lane here for Talon, Lelouch is farming way too well on the Ember, right? He had a great game on the Lina. I'd say he's even better when it comes to playing Ember, and he's having a very free laning stage so far.
He's not being slowed down. At the same time, it's not as dominant as the Lina game, so Mikado is having a little bit more play, and I think that's at least a point of solace here for the side of Talon. Mikado is going to hit his level 6 fairly fast enough, but without any rotations onto the Ember mid, I don't see any way you're going to chain stun him here and look for that opportunity for Mikado. We do have the pause. Internet issues abound once more. It is Southeast Asia. We're going to have some quick reconnects here, Mike.
I don't know what these players are complaining about, John. I play SCA on 100 ping. If I can do it, they can do it. But, you know, it is TI qualifiers. I'm just joking around. Obviously, they need their 0 ping or 1 ping or whatever it is. Fair enough. We'll get the reconnections going. The SCA server has felt rather stable recently, though, I might add, John. You know, props to the people in charge. I say rather stable. It's not, you know, up 24/7 in the way you'd like it to be, but it's been better than usual.
I don't know. I've still been having coordinator issues at night. Nighttime just doesn't feel great. Sometimes games don't even register until like an hour after, so it's been a bit touch and go. Again, lots of people playing, and that's a good sign that lots of people are still playing as well, which is always good for the health of the game. But yeah, it's still been a little bit shaky. I think this is just a routing issue. I believe before this series, Polaris did mention switching networks to the backup, so maybe it's acting up as well, and maybe having to just double check.
This is one of the things in SCA that you see a lot, right? Like these teams do need to have 2 different connections just in case, and it's just what you're gonna do, right? If you're seriously trying to contend for TI11, you've got to have those backup networks ready to go. So you really don't want to be stuck playing on 100 ping in a TI11 qualifier grand final of all things. And Polaris, they'll be all back. Hopefully the ping issues have been resolved. We'll find out very, very soon. Going back to the tri lane while we're waiting. Talon, so far finding success with the tri lane. Savage is having some decent time farming on the Slark compared to, say, Natsumi on the PL. Problem is, Polaris now, they're kind of contesting with their own tri lane. And the positive about doing an aggressive tri lane on Polaris's end is you can stack the triangle, and you are seeing AU do exactly that. And that's always going to be very effective when you have something like an Ember who can farm those large camp stacks very effectively. So there is a bit of an advantage on doing it on the right, the off-lane tri lane here for Polaris.
And you can have that build-up ready to go. And once you are ready to clear on Lelouch, he's going to have a great time just increasing his lead. It's, again, not that massive in comparison to Mikado, especially in relation to Game 1, but it is still there, and the Ember is still going to feel a lot better with the early item pickups. And Phase Boots into Orb of Corrosion, you can just run a lot of these heroes down from Talon's end. And for Talon, even with this kind of start with the trial in the top, their draft does feel slower. Your Slark will want a lot of items. Savage, he wants to go Diffusal Ags, and that's going to take some time. Compared to the farming pace of Appeal in the jungle as well, it does feel like even if Natsumi has the slower start up against KP solo, once he does dip in with Illusions, it's not going to take too long.
Offside. Hyde, he got caught by a rebound. Xavier's not able to get disposed yet, but they are on the chase and they will eventually find it. Hyde, no way to survive. He's already committed the disruption. And nothing they can do to help out because Q already committed the Fissure. Another nice pickup here for Force on the Viper. That'll be his 2nd kill of the game. I suppose for Talon, as long as this Slark is hitting creeps, they are happy, but seems like Polaris are getting warmed up here in this offlane.
Yeah, they're getting started. Again, their lineup is already geared for aggression. Nice block, though.
Makoto, he's here. Rolling Thunder, he'll try to salvage. Force, not going to get that free lane he wanted. Makoto with a very strong rotation. Something they weren't quite expecting, and they will be able to secure a kill this time for Q on the Earthshaker. Problem is, mid-tier 1 is being forced in now. Polaris, they've got a siege creep. So the timing isn't exactly perfect here from Talon, as you give up a bit of damage the way the tier 1 mid tower. But Lelouch is not giving up either. He keeps going, but Makoto is going to be able to just take care of the creep wave, and in the meantime, Natsumi ends up going down. KP able to set up. In comes Q with the Fisher, landing on 2 heroes. And Force, it looks like he's just going to go for Q instead. Q just moving right forward, just saying, take my life instead of KP's. He will make it as hard as humanly possible. So he will juke through the tree line. In fact, KP's coming back in with some decays. And Q's out of it. He is not dropping.
Yeah, they managed to get that space out. Very important solo kill for KP to find, and drags the attention to himself. They're diving in deep up top. Are forced to TP away though.
Lelouch, he'll show up. Hide. Oh, no chains. Won't lock in the Shadow Demon. He's gonna be okay. Bit of a wasted rotation this time from Lelouch. Not able to find a kill that he'd like, and now Makoto's making another rotation. I mean, Rolling Thunder is a very low cooldown, so it is back up. Never mind. He might just wait for the 8-minute power rune before he tries again. We'll show back up into the mid lane. You've got Hyde right behind him, but I don't think the SD can really look to set up here for Makoto. Maybe just trying to make sure that they do in fact get the power rune or at least deny it away. But Lelouch is going to be able to pick it up anyway. Does get lucky with the RNG. Does pick up an Invis rune for himself.
Should allow him to maybe look for movement out if he so wishes. There are some good sentries watching towards mid. So they should be able to spot that rotation out if it does come true on Talon's end. Mikado's still looking for play down bot. They scan out. KP is very deep in here.
He's in by himself. The Tombstone's kind of just been left to go, I think. The Soul Rip is there. Force is still dropping. Eventually denied off by KP, so no gold to go the way of Force. And now with Makoto around, they take him. It seems like Talon have recognized that Force is the main problem here on the side of Polaris, and they just continue to make this Viper's life a living hell.
Yeah, with Force just being forced to be down at bot. I mean, the top lane's just so much more free for Savage, and all sides of Talon now are starting to find a little bit of better farm, which is important. You know, you gotta force Force to do something he forcefully doesn't want to do.
Oh, that's 3 times, John. You used Force 3 times in that sentence. My God. Start laughing at you. Just amp it up a little bit. I'll up it. See how he likes this one.
You gotta find ways, Mikey. Still 3-6, 3K lead for Talon in the early game. Looking a lot better in comparison to game 1. They are still getting some aggressive moves out from Polaris. I mean, they're looking to really hammer in mid. They have a good understanding of just what kind of game Talon likes to play. They love to play the slower game that does require the map control mid provides. They don't quite fully commit for it, but they do have forward wards now, so they can kind of contest the jungle, keep up as to where Savage might be farming up, and get a little bit more aggressive there. The one issue for Polaris here, I mean, there's still the shard buildup you could get in Force, but the early push is definitely not as fast with the heroes you have on hand here. Unless you just constantly sidekick someone, but Zavis only has that level 1.
3-6, 4K advantage, Talon, having a much better time. A lot of stacks to be taken now by Savage in their own dire jungle. Makoto will help out. So much farm to go back the way of the Slark, and something you kind of pointed out earlier, right? Like, you're going for this Diffusal Blade into the Axe timing. You want that gold ASAP, and Savage, you'll have the Diffusal up rather soon with the way this is going. So happy days for him, unless he dies. Oh boy, that was very close. Has to pop the Shadow Dance just in case. Got a little bit twitchy on the fingers there, Savage.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to be a pretty vulnerable target if the side of Polaris wants to gank him down, but they're still sort of focused mid. And they're getting some space out for Force to farm top, and just kind of buying some room here to get that build-up going for Natsumi as well. Still emphasizing the mid more than anything else.
Lelouch, oh, nice juke out. Would not allow the Fisher there from Q. Speaking of Q, immediate smoke up.
Under a ward.
Makoto, under a ward. A little bit unfortunate. They know the smoke is coming towards that top lane. Force is immediately dragging that creep wave back towards his own tier 1 tower, and look at this, they're right behind him. There's a counter smoke happening. Q, he's gonna have his smoke broken. Sees Lelouch, doesn't really want to be here. Makoto, he does have Rolling Thunder, so they might try for this. In fact, KP has also TP'd over. They'll make the jump in onto the Viper, but Force, he's got AU to back him up. Still, the Rolling Thunder is still going. Meanwhile, Lelouch has been trapped up the Echo Slam. It was committed, but Lelouch, he's not dying yet. He will remnant out, and he's gonna be just fine. As nobody drops top lane, they are still chasing Force on the Viper, but he is way too far back. So nothing comes out from either side.
Yeah, it's a bigger commitment out from Talon, using so many ults to try to find that kill. Just kind of losing some time here. The side of Polaris can get a push out going now. They've got Unleash on Xavier, so he could actually just melt that mid tier 1. They've got to be able to respond here on Talon's end, and they are sending the heroes back in. But knowing that the roll's down for longer and knowing that there's no slam to threaten from Q should provide some openings here for Polaris to kind of dig deeper if they want.
Makoto, gonna be fine. We'll dodge the rebound in the mid lane, and Q was there to back him up anyway. Talon really making sure Makoto does not get caught. Especially considering top net worths are right now all the cores of Talon. They don't want any of those cores dying at the moment. Polaris, they do want that comeback goal to go their way. Group up top lane here from Polaris. KP is around to defend on the Undying. It's actually quite nice trying to push the creep wave as well, because you've got the max level decay. So a lot of damage is mid lane. Lelouch going to be able to back his way out once again. He'll go for a reset. It's like Polaris will keep trying to push in that top tier 1 tower, but there is going to be a smoke rotation. Talon, they want to force another fight. They don't have Echo Slam this time, but it's not like you have the Blink Dagger up anyway. Not too big of a deal. You're more reliant on the Rolling Thunder and Tombstone if you are on this dire side. But Polaris, very, very good game sense. Do read the map and do understand that Talon are missing, and they just back off. So Talon, looks like they're going to find nothing out of this smoke.
It's just more time kind of expended here, while Polaris just goes back to farming, getting that build-up they'd want. You know, going into that Maelstrom time for Lelouch. He managed to buy a lot of space out for Natsumi as well. He's got the Midas up on our PL, and he is getting a nice pacing onto the Diffusal Blade of his own. Stretches being a massive nuisance to the side of Talon once that's up and running. It's a little bit, you know, kind of slowing down a bit. Both sides just wanting to get that farm. They are starting to clump up mid once more. But Mikado is around to at least constantly shove out that creep wave, so it is a little bit harder to commit. They do jump, though.
They do make the jump in. Makoto in big trouble. Disposes there. He'll swash shield crash away. Still the chase is on, but he's got help right behind him. Lelouch forced to remnant back towards his tier 1 tower. And it seems like the Marcy is fine to back her way out. AU even hanging around the Omni Knight just in case. The Makoto dropping very low. Xavius, he's having a look around to see if he can snipe him. Kind of hard without the rebound to set up, but he is still having a look. We'll go for a TP play out. Decay is there, but they will not react in time. Unfortunate once again from Talon. Savage now mid lane. He'll chase down AU on the Omni, but can't really lock him down. AU's fine.
Yeah, they're just dodging out from the aggression of Talon early on, and for Polaris, like, you're also playing passive, but the scaling of their lineup just feels a lot better. You've got the PL, you've got the Ember, you've got mobility, and illusion spam as the game goes late. And for Talon, it feels like their spike it's not as big. It relies on really clean plays coming out that just hasn't been lining up recently. And for Polaris, just forcing Talon to constantly group up as Tree on mid, I mean, it means that you're really not getting that build-up. KP desperately wants that BKB, so you can just keep committing, but he's having to respond to the clump ups every time. They are allowing Savage to farm. He's got the Diffusal up. He's going into the Ags next. But they still need to keep stalling. And again, it's coming at sacrifices now, while allowing Polaris to also get that build up on Natsumi.
Yeah. Mid lane. Push is going. Siege creep is up. Talon. They've got the Tombstone to play with here from KP. They've got the Echo Slam of Q. Again, no blink to set up, but it won't matter. They've still got the spell ability ready to go. If a fight does get forced out, they won't catch Lelouch, but they are still doing so much damage into the tier 1, and the Fisher made it rather awkward. Now Lelouch, he does get jumped. They pounce on him, and the Echo Slam. It's going to make sure he cannot make it out. AU could not save as Savage. He'll dive right in. He'll find another. The Omni down. Talon, they'll find 2 and the tier 1 mid tower. And that's exactly what you want to see if you're a Talon fan.
Oh, they get the big kills they want. They open up the map. They're finding their aggression here on Talonson. But Polaris, they hit this timing on Natsumi. He's got the Diffusal Blade up. So the PL can actually start joining in. Maybe not the safest. Probably still needs more stat items on hand. But he's got the potential to just be opportunistic. Pick and choose his fights. Find some good pickoffs. Hold back the side of Talon. And punish if they do overextend. So it's not really the end of the world for Polaris. They are 4K behind, but it does look like that farm differential. If you look at the graph here, Mike, it's mainly on Hyde and Q. Like, Force and Lelouch are lagging a bit behind, but the gaps aren't that massive, except for Lelouch, who has, been stuck on mid just as much as Mikado, but hasn't been able to really get kills of his own either. So maybe the one hurting point on the Ember, but the Ember is still a very slippery hero, and you saw how much Talon had to commit to find that kill.
Absolutely. Kodo going to cancel off the Rolling Thunder for now. Force has been purged up by Hyde. Buckle in, Force, he's still quite tanky, but there's your Rolling Thunder. Heavenly Grace Purification is out from AU, but the lockdown, KP, he is running right in. He is just so tanky on the Undying, but they are going to force them to back. They don't want to dive into that tier 2 tower quite yet. Especially with that 4K lead they have. It's not quite large enough to dive tier 2s yet, but it is large enough to give away to Polaris and throw the game. So you've got to play cautiously still as Talon.
Yeah, definitely got to play it safe. They're starting to get some pings out onto Natsumi. Natsumi gets a good read to back off. Oh, Q doesn't quite fish it the right way. So manages to bail out. Still keeping that build up on Natsumi. And I think towards the late game, it's still really tough for the Slark to deal with a PL. Like, you've got to get the right jump on the illusion. You do have this AoE clear coming out with the Pangolier and with the Shaker. With just landing onto that PL while also worrying about the Ember, it's just really tough. And I think Polaris, again, they're comfier with a slower game here, which is really surprising because it tends to be Talon who wants to go slower. But now Polaris are more than happy to also stall the game out, confident in their win conditions.
Still grouping up mid. Natsumi will join in a little bit. Just throw those illusions out. Start to be a little bit annoying with that Diffusal Blade. See if you can poke and prod. Or even just go after the creep wave with these illusions.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
Talon looking like they really want another objective, just not wanting to play into the late game of the PL. Natsumi, top of the net worth board now, but nowhere near that level 25 mark. He's still just level 13. Of course, the 25 mark with that Doppelganger Talon is when things get really silly as this Phantom Lancer. Still got a while to go for that. Certainly is getting to a stage, though, where he can join his team. Savage, on the other hand, getting closer to his Ags. Only 2k gold away on the Slark. Huge power spike for Savage once he does have that up. And they are still the stronger team here with this draft, so they are going to move into that bottom tier 2 tower. And it seems like there'll be no defense to come from Polaris.
And they don't even have a good opportunity to go for a Fortify until the creep wave comes in, and by then, tower's a little bit too low already. So freebie coming out from Talon, immediate pings towards the mid, but the smoke and TPs are out here from Talon already.
There you go, Talon. Oh, there's a double damage rune down to that bot rune spot. You'll love to see that if you're Makoto. You'll happily bottle that one up. Now they want the fight. No two ways about it. It's either the fight or Roshan they're going for. Talon, they don't exactly have the best Roshan lineup, so they'll try and force a fight. AU is going to be spotted on the Omni. It's not the biggest kill in the world, but it is something. Makoto, he'll go ahead and take it. He'll save the DD rune. Only pops the Rolling Thunder. But it is still just a pos 5 Omni Knight at the end.
It's not the biggest kill in the world. Respawns are also fairly short, but it does still give you a little bit more room. It also does allow you to maybe check for wards, although AU didn't quite drop any. And for AU Spartan, I mean, he's buying space. He cops the smoke gank. He's still allowing Natsumi to farm. Manta style is going to be the timing for Natsumi where you can really start to consider joining these fights with at least one defensive item on hand. And that's where things might get a little bit scarier for Talon. They still hold this 5 to 6k net worth lead. They've got the BKB up on KP. The blink up on Mikado is going to be really big as well in terms of trying to get that lockdown onto these slippery heroes. And as you mentioned, Savage is inching towards that Ags here. So with a longer range pounce, with the charges on the pounce, you do have tools on hand to kind of clip in that Ember, clip in the PL if you manage to somehow find that angle. And it is up now for Savage. So you might look to play here.
Absolutely, they definitely want the fight. Talon, they are moving into that Radiant Triangle. Savage right in by the tier 2 tower. 4 staff away from AU, just trying to get away from this Slark with the Rolling Thunder. Gonna lock him down. Now they found Force. They found Natsumi. That's the Phantom Lancer being caught and he is gone. Q is not wasting any time with this Echo Slam. He drops it immediately. They even got Xavius. In they go for more. Into the tier 3 tower. They will find Force in the Viper. 4 down. The only survivor being Lelouch for Polaris Esports. But Talon, they have hit a timing. And my god, are they abusing it.
That is just insane value immediately from Savage. I didn't expect them to instantly find such big kills. Polaris didn't expect the Slark to be that mobile. Like these charges on the pounds, with how low cooldown it is, it just allows you to do so much. I mean, getting that pounce onto Natsumi was the big one. They lock in the real PL, they get the good slam out from Q, and again, going back to that Shaker versus PL dynamic, Mike, if you do lock in the PL and prevent it from using the Doppler, slam is still pretty big damage. So Natsumi has to weave himself in and out. He needs that protection for the Manta, and Talon just find a way to sneak right in, getting instant value out from Savage.
Absolutely. Q has been doing a really good job on this Earthshaker so far. Like, just the fishes alone have been so effective. Just multi-man fishes over and over again. Sometimes with a good fisher, you don't even need the Echo Slam. The blink up, though, he'll be happy to pop the Echo Slam for a big one. Top lane, they'll try onto the Marcy. Hyde will be there to disruption. TP is cancelled off. That'll be another kill to go the way of Makoto. Talon, now 9k ahead in terms of net worth. And really no signs of slowing down. In fact, Natsumi is going to be spotted. Makoto immediately into the Rolling Thunder. His team is nearby, and he can just perma-stun up this PL. Where's the Doppel? He hasn't got it yet. Another pounce is in. Savage right on to that Phantom Lancer, and he does at least get away for a little bit, but Savage is not done. He gets another pounce. He gets the pos 1 PL down for 45 seconds. And the voice lines keep going. Talon into the T2 top. They'll back off for now. Maybe try for Roshan. And that's where they're headed.
They've got the opening for it. I mean, Mikado with his confidence in that fight, just showing up knowing that with Q, they could buy so much time. We've seen this multiple times out of Talon in this game already. Just great Fisher block into the chain stuns from the rolls. And Savage, again, weaving that thread through the needle with these excellent pounces to follow up. And just secures them a big objective, widening that lead 3 to 15, 11k up. First rush of the game going the way of Talon, and they hand it over to Mikado to have him protected in the front line. They've got a lot to play with. For Polaris' end, again, this is a bit of an opposite draft from Polaris. This is them wanting to try to build up on Natsumi, wanting to have this massive mobility on the Lelouch. The big issue for Polaris here, Mike, is that with Force in this kind of game, this is the kind of game where you look at the offlane Viper and you realize it's probably not going to have that much impact. Force, he's not going to be farm priority. He's kind of misses level spikes. So for Polaris, I think the only way they get value from the Viper now is just accept that they're going to have to use Force as a sacrifice to buy all the space for everyone else.
And that goes back to the tri-lane, right? Like the brilliance of Talon to try and make the tri-lane happen up at top side and make sure the Viper just can't dominate the lane. It's completely shut down Force. And considering how important Force has been throughout all the series we've watched of Polaris, that's a real problem. It's just huge.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the potential of the Viper on a strong start with the Ag shard timing into the push. We're not seeing any of that. He does have the Force Staff to save from pounce. That is a lot of utility. But outside of that, I mean, you can't really do anything.
Here we go. AU on the Omni Knight. He cannot afford to die this early, but he is gone. You need that Pos 5 Omni to back you up for this Tier 2 tower defense. It's not going to be there now. Q's still holding onto the Blink Echo Slam as well, so it's going to be very hard to try and defend this. Fisher Off the mark, there was a sleight of fist dodge. They will not catch Lelouch. Rolling Thunder, though, does catch Xavius on the left side, but
Middle tower.
no real teammates around to help him. Call it a zoning, Rolling Thunder. The mid-tier 2 is slowly being chipped away out, and Talon, they will pick it up, no problem.
Yeah, they're clearing out the map. Polaris only stuck with one outer tower left. I mean, they're still managing to sneak Natsumi outside. With Midas, with his farming pace, he's not that far behind.
4 staff away in the Viper. It's just so scary when Savage closes the gap with that pounce. Desperately just trying to buy more time for Natsumi. They know later on the PL will outscale everyone on the side of Talon. He just needs time. Heart of Tarask being worked on, but it's kind of a matter of how much time you have left, because Talon, they are all over this game too. 14k advantage now. Natsumi will TP out of the top lane, but Makoto is just there to defend. Just push out the creep wave once again. And Polaris, I mean, they are grouped up mid lane, but it just doesn't feel like they can smoke up and try to force a fight yet. Maybe they're forced to try so, but you're not farmed enough on the PL to really get involved, I don't think. Not against this Slark and not against this Pango.
No, you at least have his protection now on Lelouch. He has his own BKB. He's not going to get chain stunned. The only hope you have right now on Talon is having to expend that demonic purge onto that Ember, but he's always going to have a remnant back there to save. So you have more play coming out from Lelouch. That is a good sign here for Polaris and kind of trying to stave off Talon and the aggression they're showing so far. For Talon's part, only a minute 40 left on that Aegis. So they're going to just have to maybe take a tier 2. High ground still feels like a little bit of a tough prospect considering the play Polaris has on hand. They can't just keep spamming out these illusions from Natsumi in the high ground defense, which is where that PL really shines, and that's why the shard that Natsumi has is really important in stalling that game out. But with the map control townhouse elsewhere, I don't think you'll mind a stalled out high ground push. I mean, this PL is still growing big though, and if it does stall long enough for that heart you mentioned to come into play here, Mike, as long as Natsumi doesn't get caught by the pounce twice over, you're gonna be fine. So again, you've got all your cards there.
Speaking of that pounce, AU's going to get caught out. Here's Savage. He'll take another. It's easy pick off onto the Omni Knight. With the 8th permanent agility stack here for Savage. Going back to the PL point you were making, like Heart of Tarask, and then I believe the Eye of Skadi will come out here for Natsumi, and around that point you have 4k plus HP. Maybe just a little bit less than 4k, but you have enough time to tank through the damage of the Slark, I think is the point. And a nice way to reset throughout the team fights. But looking at the farm of Natsumi, he has such a long way to go before that point. Such a long way.
Yeah, he's even going for the Aether Lens first now. He's got that queued up, so he understands with a longer game, Spirit Lance spam has to come in. Polaris, though, trying to go for a sneaky smoke here, Mike, on the left side top
Look
lane.
at the pound, Savage.
Oh.
He's right in. He's right onto the PL. Stunning him up, leashing him up. There's the Fisher.
mana.
Q, not letting him go. Mana's down. He is gone. He does have buyback for this fight if they need it. Q. He will go down as well. Lelouch setting up Savage. He's forced to BKB,
Look
but
at
he
the
just
stacks
keeps
of
fighting.
essence.
He is getting a lot of stacks from here from the side of Polaris. Savage is going to back off for now. Back into the T3 tower.
Middle tower is under attack.
Polaris are the ones that need to find a way to defend this. 16k advantage here for Talon. At least with the Viper, you can slowly chip away at Talon. They don't have the greatest tower push. Even with this many agility stacks on Savage, he's going to keep trying to chip away. Chains are out. Rebound was there, but it's not going to land in time. But they just need to force Talon away because they don't want Natsumi to be forced to buy back. And he won't be.
Yeah, it's still a successful hold out from Polaris. Stall out this game, but they lose a really big hero. And we just talked about Natsumi and how key he is to this game. Savage, again, just working with his Ags really well to enable his team to follow up. Like the mana burn, with the lockdown he has, if no one's nearby him with a Force Staff, Natsumi, I mean, you can try to dodge out all you want, but you can't even try that without mana on hand. So he's at a severe risk. You've got double diffusals on the side of Talon with Savage and Mikado, so you have a lot of ways to just prevent the spell casting here. Next Rosh in a minute and a half, we'll see that respawn timer here. Even managed to find a Titan's Liver to hand over onto Savage if he so wishes. So a lot harder to pin down as well. I think for Polaris, this is somewhat of an issue we saw from Talon in Game 1, but the line of Polaris in this time, it doesn't have the biggest team fight either. The team fight control is reliant on the Marcy. Lelouch? Oof.
He's going to be okay. He'll remnant out. This is what Lelouch needs to keep doing, is just split pushing these side lanes and just buying more time. Of course, Savage is always on the hunt as his Slark. That's what makes it so scary to try and do this, but you've really got no choice. You have to get it done before Talon make it back to the high ground.
Yeah, just keep shoving back, keep stalling. And unfortunately, this stall will just lead to the next Roche, and without outer control here from Polaris, going into the Roche is just a lot tougher. There's some forward wards on the triangle here from Talon to protect. They can still try to sneak away with a smoke, but how do you really initiate on Polaris? Like, you rely on Xavius to jump in. He doesn't have the BKB or the blink up yet. So if the Marcy does go with a rebound first, she's just kind of dead. You could try Lelouch with a BKB, but the Basher has been up on Mikado for a while. So if they get lucky, you suddenly catch that Ember in a very awkward position, and that just causes even more issues. So your angles are limited here on Polaris.
They're trying so hard to catch the Ember. Q was even there just with the Fisher, but Remnant's away. Lelouch knows. Meanwhile, Makoto, top lane, by himself. Baiting forward, he'll get the Rolling Thunder off. Rebound was not there in time, and now the turnaround. His team is cutting in. The Slark from the mid lane is trying to move in and force this fight. Rebound, Rolling Thunder is still going. This Marcy has been caught. Xavius needs a rebound target, but can't find one. So Makoto's the one to take the killers now. They make the jump in, but Savage on the wrong side of the Fisher will pounce right in onto Force, gets the Viper, takes all the stats away, but cannot dive too deep. He is forced to back off. Again, you don't want to throw this game back the way of Polaris if you can avoid it as Talon, because it can swing back the other way very quickly if you give up a good team fight. So Talon, they are going to be conservative. Wait for the next Roshan. The only problem is for Talon, Roshan is 2 minutes away.
There's time to respond here for Polaris. Time for them to try and equalize these lanes, get that build-up they want on Natsumi. He does switch back. Oh, he's still going for the Aether ones. All right. Which is fair enough. Again, spamming out the spells is going to be important. Oh, no. He queues back to just the Heart of Tarask. So just wants that HP. Probably not going to rely on that good old Pale Horse build that we usually see from Phantom Lancer. In fact, this is a hybrid build. Doesn't Speed love Midas on every hero as well, including PL? There you go.
Oh, well.
He was very ahead of his time.
He definitely was, John. He definitely was. Smoke is up. Polaris Esports. 5-man smoke, but where are they heading? Top lane, they're going to find Makoto. He's been very hard to catch recently on this Pango. Rolling Thunder is back up with the roll-up, so it makes it very challenging. Makoto has been very quick with the reactions as well, especially with the rebound initiation. Just never able to land the stun in time here on Makoto before the roll-up is there. Like Polaris, they're going to smoke again. They'll pop another one. They'll get some wards down. Heart of Tarask is now up on Natsumi, but he's got no buyback gold. Polaris, they just check the Roshan pit for now. Just kind of keeping tabs on what's going on in the pit. Still wrapping around. A very awkward smoke attempt from Polaris. They'll get a bounty for their trouble. It seems like they literally just want to know when Roche is up. That might be the fight they have to take. Smoke broken. Hide. Disruption is there. Who's going to make the jump in? Makoto, he's around. They cannot land the stun in time. And now the turnaround. Talon all over it. Have locked down Xavius. Locking down Force and the Viper. Force and the BKB usage early on. Force, he will just TP out with this and try to get out. Makoto does not bash through the BKB, sadly, but they even found Lelouch. Massive kills for Talon.
Oh boy. That's dire straits for Polaris now. Maybe forced to buy back for high ground if Talon does force the issue, and with a buyback commitment, turn around for the Roche. So the output now from Natsumi is huge, but he has to be careful.
Pounce in, but 4-staff away. Natsumi, oh, Savage, he's very, very deep. Shallow Dance is there, he'll turn around into the tier 4 towers now. A lot of damage on that Viper, but is he going too far? Guardian Angel is out. Savage, he finds one, but the Fisher, it's blocked him the other way, but he's got Pounce available if he needs it. He should be okay in just a moment. He's very confident with his ability to just regen through all that damage output.
I think the big issue for Polaris is just the lack of hold for something like the Slark. You have no hard hex, you still only have rebound in the chains, and that's just not enough to lock Savage in.
Rebound in again. Hyde does get caught. Will go down. That's something. They do lose their mid-melee barracks and Natsumi. He's going to try to rush forward onto Makoto, but he just doesn't feel farmed enough to actually try and go for any kills. Not onto the cause of Talon.
Just have to be conservative, you know, you only lose a melee rack. It's not the biggest loss in the world. Polaris can still hang on to this game. And they are in a position where they can contest or sneak rush. They've got the wards in the area. Talon are pretty blind right now in this position. So Polaris can try to be sneaky here. And they desperately need Hyde. Like, he is a big part of these team fights. That Demonic Purge is providing them with the openings. The Disseminate, with the damage you're doing to illusions, just bounces a lot. You need that damage output amp. Savage though?
Savage.
Poking.
Very aggressive jump in. This is all by himself. He has the depth round, he has the shadow dance, so he'll pop the ulti first. Makoto, however, getting caught, still trying to find Natsumi. Now the fish is there. Q waiting for the BKBs to wear up for that Echo Slam. Won't throw it out yet. Instead it's Xavius who gets caught out on the Marcy and will drop. AU, he'll be right after. The Omni Knight is gone as Savage. Trying to find a little bit more here on the Slark. KP's gonna find Natsumi. Q's there with the Fisher. That's a great block out. Natsumi, he'll doppel away, but the Echo Slam gonna lock him down. He is gone. No buyback available. On to Roshan, they call it. GG. They don't believe they can make the comeback after the Aegis is taken. And I would agree with that sentiment. Polaris, they will lose game 2 in Talon. They will even out this grand final 1-1.
Yeah, that's spectacular bounce back for Talon. For Polaris, I mean, they went back to that same opening, Omni Knight and Marcy, but the shake-up from Talon there, the change in draft to ensure that, you know, they don't have Mikado on here that he can't really be aggressive on, was all they needed. Like, he manages to play a quicker game from the Pangolier, a KP